guys, what we're going to do today, we're going to get the air out of the brake lines because we just replaced some brake lines, and this is going to be a roundabout way that could help you. Now, the first step you need to do, you want to make sure that your brake fluid reservoir right here is always between max and full where it says. So take your cap off. Now your brake cylinder master brake cylinder is here too. So each side is going to have a bleeder valve, which I'm about to show you. Now some cars may be different, but most of the time you're going to want to bleed the valve that's farthest away from the master cylinder, which would be the rear passenger side. So that is what we're going to start with first, guys. Okay, the next step you're going to need to do is get your jack out and put it to where you're ready to jack up the truck. But before you do, you're going to need to take off the tire. I also have two jack stands here for once I get the truck up. I'm going to use it for safety to hold the truck up in the air. What I've done is I've tucked the lug nuts off with the lug wrench. I've put the lug nuts right here to where I know where they are. And the next step is to jack the truck up. Okay. Next step is I'm going to put this. You may want to get a shot over here. I'm putting this under here, right, just so that if the jack fails, that it will just be on the if the jack fails, that the jack stand will hold it up. All right, now the next step is, after all the lug nuts are off, you want to see if the tire will just come right off. If it hasn't been off in a long time, it's not going to come off. So usually I take the heel of my shoe and I just give it a kick like that, and then that will get it to come off. So I'm going to set the tire right here out of the way. Okay guys, the bleeder valve is right here on this caliper. It's kind of small, and this is going to be a two-person process. A lot of people are wondering, do you turn the car on while you're bleeding the brakes, or do you leave the car turned off? Well, the answer is, if you're just getting the air out of the lines, you're going to leave the car turned off. And that's what we're going to do. Okay guys, this is some tips and tricks. Okay, I'm working on a Ford F-150 2002 model, and most of the time the bleeder valves are 10 millimeters. In this case, it was not. On this particular vehicle, it is 3/8. Now, you're going to need a wrench to tighten the bleeder valve as soon as you push the brakes and the air comes out, because you're going to have to retighten it, and then the brakes are going to have to be pushed again, and then you're going to have to untighten it to let the air out. But if you're having problems loosening up the bleeder valve in the very beginning, to break the bleeder valve loose, you can use a socket, and then once it's loose, that's when you use the wrench, if that makes sense. That way you won't round off your bleeder valve. That would be a catastrophe. It'd be aggravating. Anyways, another tip I'm going to give you, we're doing this a two-person brake bleeding, so this is not airtight. What I did was I got a hose from air conditioner charger. It came on the front of the air conditioner charger, and I just cut the hose off, and then I cut a hole into the top of this Powerade bottle. And what this is going to do, as we're pumping the brakes, I'm going to put this over the bleeder valve, and I'll show you here in just a minute. And the excess brake fluid, as the air comes out, is going to shoot into this bottle. that kind of helps the environment from, you know, to keep you from making a mess. That's basically what this does. So no, this is not airtight. This is not a one-person bleeder kit. This is just a way to keep the brake fluid from hitting the ground. Okay, remember that this bottle I was telling you about? Well, I'm putting it over the nipple of the bleeder valve now. You got to make sure it goes over top of it. And it is. Make sure you still have room to move the bleeder valve bolt. There we go. I still have room to move it. And now I'm going to tell my other person to get in and pump the brakes. Now, a good thing to do is to open both doors. Just have some way to communicate, okay?
Do I need to switch on?
No.
Pump them a couple times and then hold them?
Pump them a couple times and then hold it. Hold it down and don't let go.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Then you loosen it up, guys. And then you tighten it back up. Okay, let go. Now pump it up a couple more times. Hold it down when it feels stiff. Does it feel stiff at all?
Yeah.
You holding it down?
Yep.
And then you open it back up. Some air coming out here. You can hear that air coming out. Okay, then tighten it back up. All right, pump it again until it gets stiff. Just let off and start pumping again.
Okay.
Doesn't look like there's hardly any more air coming out. So then I'm going to tighten this back. Okay, let off of it. Now when you push the brakes, does it feel any stiffer?
Yeah, it's pretty stiff.
Okay. Now that side is done. And I'm going to repeat the steps on all four sides. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm putting the tire back on because I've already bled the brakes with the bleeder valve. So I'm putting these on in kind of a diagonal way. And this is still jacked up off the ground. I'm just making a note of that for you guys. And I'm hand tightening these. And then I'm going to get them as tight as they'll go with the lug wrench. I also forgot to mention, a lot of people that are, pretty good at this or just want to try it a different way. If you can access the bleeder valve without taking your wheel off, you can do it that way. I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, you don't have to 100% take your tires off. I'm doing that because to me, it's much easier to take the tires off and access the bleeder valve than to keep reaching around through there or go underneath the truck. But there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's.
Okay.
Okay, the wheels are still off the ground, and what I'm doing is I'm going to start tightening these down in a diagonal way, so that way the wheel will go on flush. And again, I'm not going to put them on to the torque specs until I lower this to the ground. Okay, those are on and ready to be torqued when I put down the jack. Now, here's one of the last steps you have to do is, if you can get over here with the camera. Okay, the jack stand that I use for safety, I'm going to go ahead and take it out. And then I'm going to turn the jack so that it's going to let the truck down. Just to the left. Take the jack out. And we want to repeat these steps for each tire. Like I said, the next will be the rear driver's side, then front passenger side, then front driver's side. Then after that, we ought to have some really good brakes with no air in the lines.